this is James, and I'd like to welcome you to the Oracle Outlook for the week starting December the 11th, 2017. Before getting into this week's reading, I first would like to start off by thanking those of you who took the time to watch last week's reading. If you happen to check it out, then you will know that I conducted a little bit of an experiment and I worked with a deck that I had never worked with before. And I was honoring the request of one of my viewers, Captain Nolan, who asked if I would work with the Gypsy Witch Fortune-Telling Playing Cards. And I didn't have the deck in my collection when Captain Nolan made the request. So I had to acquire the deck and spend some time, once the deck arrived, getting to know it so I could prepare myself for last week's video. And I will say I was both very excited and a little bit nervous because it was the first time and I didn't have a lot of time in between the deck arriving and doing the video to kind of fully immerse myself. So I was very pleased to see the number of views, the number of likes, and the wonderful, supportive, and encouraging comments around my experiment with the deck. And I also want to take a moment to honor those of you who asked to continue to see me do more playing card readings. That means the world to me because playing cards are near and dear to my heart. If you are familiar with my backstory, then you know that I had a dream about reading playing cards that actually led into me picking up my first deck of cards, which were tarot cards. And after some time with tarot, I kind of gravitated more towards the playing cards because I wanted to honor that the fact that an actual playing card deck showed up in the dream. So that was how I actually got into reading cards. So playing cards will always be near and dear to my heart. And I know that over the course of time, providing content for the channel, that when I do Lenormand readings, that was something that kind of just surprisingly and delightfully took off. I wasn't seeing that happening because when I started this channel, I was mostly working with tarot, but when I worked with Lenormand, it kind of took on a life of its own, to my surprise and delight. So, but that is the content that most people gravitate to towards my channel and my work on the channel. And so when I'm hearing people talk about they wanting to see more of the playing card readings, that means the world to me. So thank you for those of you who have expressed interest in that. And so to honor that, I'm continuing to work with playing card decks for this week's reading, and I'm going to return to the Gypsy Witch Fortune-Telling Playing Cards because that was so well received last week. I figured why not give it another go. So that is the deck that's going to be assisting me for this week's reading, and the Gypsy Witch Fortune-Telling Playing Cards are published by US Games Systems Incorporated. So now that I talked about the deck, now let's get into this week's reading. And now I'm picking up the deck, and I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the cards. And as I do every week for these general readings, my intention and question is always, what do we need to know for the week ahead? So that is what I'm focusing on as I shuffle. Feeling one more time will be good. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. And I'm going to fan out the cards. And I'm picking 5 cards because when I work with these types of decks, I like to do a line of 5. So I'm just looking for 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. Alright, so now that I have the card selected, I'm taking the remainder of the deck and I'm putting it to one side. And when I read a line of 5, I typically start with the middle card. For me, the middle card represents something that we're being asked to focus on for the week ahead, or a central issue or concern that we might experience. So taking a look at the card, okay, so here we have the 3 of Diamonds. So the 3 of Diamonds is a card for me that can represent increase of some kind. So typically I tend to look at this as financial increase because diamonds can represent money. And so with that, this card can represent a small increase in terms of money. It represents a small sum of money. It can also represent this idea of, like, if we're going to create financial increase, because the 3 is a number of creativity, if we're working on creating financial increase, then the 3 of Diamonds can suggest something having to do with temporary work, part-time work, or full-time work. And so if it's not in the literal sense, then maybe from an energetic perspective, because diamonds represents energy, right? So we may be either temporarily working on something, we may be putting some energy into a situation on a part-time basis, or that we are moving from maybe putting in a little bit of time or a little bit of energy into a situation, and we're actually putting in more time in, and that's the idea of moving from part-time to full-time. We may be putting more time and energy into a particular situation, and with that, then diamonds is, we're doing that because we want to increase our level or our potential for success, because diamonds is the suit of success. So that is how I would read the 3 of diamonds. Now, taking a look at the symbol on the card, we have the money safe. So it could be saying too, as the central card, we may be focusing on creating a greater sense of financial stability, because that's what the money safe would represent to me, or that there is a situation that we might experience that's going to take, or going to cause us, I should say, to look at feeling safe or feeling stable or feeling secure, right? So there is that with the money safe. So it could literally represent this idea of financial security, financial safety. It could be about saving money. You know, we may be creating financial increase so we can save money if I put the 2 aspects of the card together. But it could just also represent like moving through experiences in which we are putting energy into creating a sense of safety and security. So that is how I would read the 3 of diamonds and the money safe. So now we'll get more information about that, possibly by looking at the surrounding cards. So starting with the card on the far left, we have, okay. So here we have the 4 of diamonds. So we just increased from the 3 to the 4, so that's a level of increase, right? Now, diamonds, again, being what I talked about in terms of energy, doing something where we are seeing some rewards, or seeing some level of success, or that we are talking about the energy that we're putting into something. So now this makes perfect sense in light of what I said about this idea of financial increase. The 4 of diamonds is a card for me that can represent a financial foundation, right? Because the number of 4 is about foundations, right? So it's about a financial foundation. This is known as a card that can talk about things like saving money. So this can literally represent a savings account, a bank account, a cash box, a money box, something that we are putting money into, right? So it could be saying too, like we're working on creating financial increase so we can save money. And that would bring the safe aspect, or the money safe aspect of the 3 of diamonds into this card too. There's a carry over here. So I look for, when I'm reading cards, for repetitive messages. So for some of us, we're being encouraged to look at the ways that we can create financial increase, but with the emphasis on saving money, right? With that. And so now, the aspect on the card here in terms of the symbol is the dog. So the first thing I want to say is, if somebody is working on wanting to save money, the dog is a card that can represent somebody who is a consultant or somebody who is an advisor, right? So it could be, I'm going to get advice, or I'm going to get help or support with this idea of saving money. So you could literally talk to a financial advisor or a financial consultant who can help you lay the groundwork. That's the 4. Lay the groundwork, or create some sense of structure and discipline to help you save money. Right, so there is that. So now the other thing here that I want to talk about in terms of safety and a sense of stability and security, the dog could come up when we are taking a look at either a friendship, a partnership, or a companionship. And with that, with the idea of, the idea of help, loyalty, support, a sense of being faithful, because those are all aspects of dog that I take into consideration. So it could be saying too, like if it's not an actual financial consultant or financial advisor, it could be somebody who is a friend who may be serving in that kind of capacity, somebody who's offering help and support in a way that's going to help you with your finances. But it could also be too, like moving through the space where I need to feel safe with a particular friendship, companionship, partnership. So there may be a sense of like safety or stability or security within that experience for some people this week. So that is how I would look at the Four of Diamonds and Dog. So now Dog is facing the next card. So let's take a look to see what that card is. Okay. So here we have the Two of Hearts. So now the interesting thing about hearts is the suit that represents feelings, emotions, relationships, right? So there is that aspect of it. So that may fit with what I talked about in terms of the friendship, the companionship, the partnership, because now we have that repeated. And the Two of Hearts represents forming a partnership, forming a relationship, that kind of thing. For me, I tend to think of it as like we're in that space with maybe a friend or partner where we're taking the time to get to know the other person better. And so with that, we may be sharing feelings, emotions, because the two is a number of exchange. So we may be exchanging feelings, emotions. There may be an emotional exchange, right? So for someone, they could be wanting to invest or put in emotional energy into a relationship, and they may be coming from a standpoint or a place where they need to feel a sense of loyalty, needing to feel a sense of faithfulness, trust, because Dog is also about being trustworthy. So all of those kinds of things, because that is the underpinning of a sense of being secure and stable or feeling safe in a relationship. So there could be that aspect of it. Now, the symbol on the card is gentleman. So for somebody, this could be about a friendship, companionship, partnership with a man, if we pair Dog and gentleman, right? And the interesting thing about it is the Dog and the gentleman are facing each other, right? So there could be about this needing to have some level of agreement, because they're facing each other, about the foundation of the relationship in order to build on that, right? And so somebody may need to be feeling or sharing how they feel about that with the other party. So I'm seeing that as possibilities. It could also be for somebody who I talked about, the financial advisor, consultant slant. It could be like that. It's going to be in the form of a man. So a man may play a prominent role or a significant part, because gentleman is a significator card. So a significant part in that. So now the last thing I want to say too is that if you're a woman watching this video, then the gentleman card can represent a man who's going to be significant or important. And if you're a man watching this video, then the gentleman card could represent you. All right, so there is that aspect of the Two of Hearts and gentleman. So now the first thing that I want to talk about here at this point is that we have 3 red cards. So for me, cards from the suit of hearts and diamonds can represent positive energy, and so it could just represent like positive influences, positive energy moving through the course of the upcoming week. So now let's take a look at the card on the other side of the money safe and the 3 of diamonds. And so now we have the 4 of hearts. Okay, so now the 4 of hearts for me is quite clear. So we have 2 4s repeating. So there is that, again, this sense of foundation, this sense of security and stability, this sense of maybe needing to work on something. I tend to look at 4 as work and maybe hard work, you know. So, but those are all aspects of the 4, and I'm saying that because the 4 is repeating. Now we also have 2 diamonds and we have 2 hearts now. So looking at the line overall, it could be about, again, feeling this need to have a sense of success within relationships or emotional energy. It could be about what can we do to feel a sense of success. It could be rewards on an emotional level, and that would be the combination of diamonds and hearts. So now, this idea that I talked about with the sense of feeling safe, feeling stable, feeling secure in a relationship, that would make sense, because now with the 2 of hearts, we're moving into a space where we may be considering the idea of becoming more intimate, because the 4 of hearts is the marriage bed card. So for me, that could represent, you know, a greater level of intimacy or closeness. So we may be moving beyond the getting to know you stage, and we're moving into a greater level of intimacy and closeness. And for some people, that may be cause for looking at how safe do I feel? What's the level of comfort that I have in this relationship with this other person, right? So there is that aspect of the 4 of hearts. Now, we have fish on the card. So for some people, we're still sticking with the money because fish is a symbol of money for me. So, and abundance. So it could be like, what are we doing to increase our cash flow, to increase our level of abundance? It could be saying too, like if somebody is wanting to create change around financial increase, it may be partly a need to look at how do you feel about money. Are you comfortable with money? How would you feel about a certain amount of money? What level of increase from a financial perspective do you need to have so you can feel secure, so that you can feel stable? So I'm seeing that with aspects, because that may be something to consider, because the image of money safe, one part of the safe is open and another part is closed. So the closed part is closest to the fish. And so that may be the sense of like, I'm not feeling entirely secure when it comes to money. And so that maybe I'm not entirely secure with money in terms of how I handle it. And maybe that's where the sense of like, I need to create change around that. So twofold here. It could be about an emotional relationship in which we're investing a lot of energy, and we're moving to a place where we are feeling more comfortable with a person, and we're wanting to become closer or more intimate with that person. But so that's one track. And another track, we're taking a look at money and what do we need to feel a greater sense of safety and security and stability when it comes to our financial picture. So I'm seeing that with Four of Hearts and Fish. So now let's take a look at the final card, and this is why. Okay, so here we have the Seven of Spades. So for me, when the Seven of Spades comes up, the first thing that I want to say is that the suit of spades represents a problem or a challenge, an obstacle or a block that we're coming up against, being the last card. So we're moving from left to right, so there could be a sense of a block that comes up. Now the seven is a number of improvement, but when it's attached to the spades, the Seven of Spades can then take on the energy of a setback or something that's becoming stagnant, right? And as the influence of the previous card, the Four of Hearts, that may be the sense of I'm not feeling entirely secure, and so that could be insecurity within the confines of a relationship, or insecurity within the confines of creating material stability and security. So either one, because remember now, it seems like those are the two prevailing issues that we may be focusing on for the week ahead. But the Seven of Spades represents, for me, a setback, represents something being stagnant and wanting to work on improving something, right? So this is showing up because we may need to make some decisions, that's spades energy, about improving a situation, right? So there is that. And now the symbol on the card is clouds. And so clouds, for me, can represent an air of uncertainty, an air of doubt. But it could also represent moving into a confusing time or space, right? And so it just represents something not being clear, right? So here we have, maybe if we pair fish and clouds, because fish is the card that's closest to this card, could just represent this idea of financial confusion, financial uncertainty, not being clear when it comes to making money, that kind of thing. So it could be too, that could be fueling this need to create change, because we're in a space where we're maybe moving into a sense where that's going to become a thing. We may be moving into this sphere of, needing to do something because we may be believing that our financial future is unclear. And that goes back to the middle card. Remember now, the middle card I said about either temporary work, part-time work, or full-time work, and we may be needing to take that on because our financial future may be looking uncertain. So what I want to say with the challenging card being at the end, it's giving us a heads up. I tend to look at challenging cards giving us a heads up. We're being kind of forewarned to kind of say, okay, if we're having a potential issue, we are needing to kind of maybe make some decisions around solving that problem. But the seven, again, is all about wanting to improve something. So it could be like we're getting to a place where we may be looking at all the things that I have been doing aren't producing results. So what kind of different choices, different decisions, different actions even, do I need to take to create the result that I would like to see? Because what I'm maybe doing up to this point isn't producing results. Right? So on that note, I'll go ahead and wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook. And as I wrap up, I'd like to take a moment now and acknowledge those of you who have recently subscribed to the channel. Over the course of the last week, I've had a number of new subscribers subscribe. So I'd like to take this moment to officially welcome you to the channel and saying thank you for taking that step to subscribe. But whether you are a first-time viewer, a long-time viewer, or a subscriber, I'd like to thank you for your support and encouragement of the work that goes into this channel. I couldn't do what I do without any of you, so that means the world to me. So thank you for that. And as I close, I'm James Himm Mitchell, and I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.